मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय जय
Excuse me, please keep standing for 1 minute. This is because we have lost one of our founder, advisors, Admiral Ramdas, uh, Lakshmi Das Ramdas, last a few months ago. And please, I request you to observe a minute silence. Thank you very much. Please, the people at the back, can you please come in front? Please move in front. Thank you. We'd like to welcome all our dignitaries. Please be seated so that we can start the program. Please be seated. Please be seated. Thank you. We welcome you to today's annual conference commemorating Bharat's, that is India's 77th auspicious Independence Day celebrations on Sunday the 18th of August 2024 at the Islam Gymkhana. We are known as, the program is called Hum Hindustani. Can you all say that please? Hum Hindustani. Thank you. The topic for today is transformation politics, supremacy of the constitution, democratic rights, civil liberties, human rights, citizen-centric growth. And you have a beautiful panel before you. So first and foremost, please let me welcome our chief guest, Mr. Salman Khurshid, who has traveled all the way from Delhi for our program. Please give him a very big hand. We'd like to welcome him with a bouquet of flowers. 1 minute, ma'am.
पीछे आओ यार, ये भैया।
Kumar Ketkar ji, we have a very distinguished panel of guests of honor. We have a very special guest of honor who is also an advisor to the Wisdom Foundation. So we welcome him, Kumar Ketkar ji. Likewise, we welcome Justice Sanjay Jhaji, who is our very special guest, and who is very, very difficult to get. You know who he is. Everyone watches him on TV every day. Look at here. Thank you. Welcome Justice Tipse ji. Justice Sahab has been on the forefront of the Wisdom Foundation. He is also
Look at here, sir.
Please welcome him. We welcome Father Cedric Prakash SJ, who has come all the way from Ahmedabad. Please give him a very big hand. Thank you, Father Cedric. Thank you. He's a great human rights activist, and we will be talking about him. And this is for Nirmala Prabhavalkar ji. She's an advocate, the former mayor of Mumbai. A very, very important person, and also an advisor to the Wisdom Foundation. Thank you. We'd like to welcome a very special guest here who is with us, Dr. Zahid Kazi, President of Anjuman Islam and winner of the Padma Shri, recently won award, very well deserved. coming and being with us, gracing us with your presence, Dr. Kathy. Before we, before we start, I'd like to also acknowledge a lot of people here who have been with us and who have stood by the foundation, and they have supported us in very many different ways. My brother Muhammad Wajihuddin is not here, and he has been one of the principal organizers for this conference to happen. He has been one of the primary persons to collect the funds for us. So a big hand for Mr. Wajihuddin, and we miss him very much. He's away on official duties. Then we have with us, we want to thank Mr. B.R. Sharif, who also has supported us. I've never met him, but he just sent his check across, and I was extremely touched. And though I've never met him, I would like to salute him and say a big thank you to him. We'd like to thank Mr. Sabir Nirvan, who's not here either, who has supported us. Mr. Nuruddin, who's also not here. Mr. Rais Ahmad, who's also not here because they all said, I don't know whether they're shy of coming and receive. Are they coming? Okay, they will be reaching here soon, but we acknowledge their presence and we have got some bouquets to give them. We would like to thank Mr. Nizamuddin, who is behind us, stood by us, and when we said, when he understood, he really got us so many funds.
Okay.
It's more difficult.
Passing the parcel.
We have with us Mr. Javed Anand, from the IMLB. He's unwell, but he's with us today. He's been a very, very special friend. We have with us Mr. Yusuf Mochala, who's, Javed, this is for you.
Javed bhai.
That's for Mr. Yusuf Mochala, a very distinguished person and a part of the Muslim Person Law Board, but he's with us. Thank you for being with us, and he's a very dear friend of mine. So Mr. Ayaz Mehman, this is for you. Nasreen Fazil Boy, who has been there, who I have known from family to family. She's a family friend and a great of the foundation. I thank her. There is with us Shaheen Qadri, who has, there's a list of, somebody asked me once, who are the Indian freedom fighters? We don't know their names. So she sat down and made a whole list which is being distributed so people may know that, who were the freedom fighters among the Muslim names who are somehow or the other not visible, really. And then we thank Mr. Ram Punyani is not here, Professor Ram Punyani was supposed to come here. And I think Mr. Abu Asim was here. He has left, but we acknowledge that his presence, that he came. And Dorothy D'Souza was to come, but his mother is unwell. But we have Dr. Mohona with us. Please, she is from the Catholic, Vice President of the Catholic Sabha. We want to greet him with flowers. Behind you, we have Noreen, my friend, who has been here from 5 o'clock with me, standing by and doing all the work with Shaheen. We have two very special friends. One is with Jamni Ahluwalia, and we have Mahabanu Kotwal, who are my very special friends, who've taken all the trouble to be here. We will have with us a very distinguished person here, Mr. Ashok Advani, who heads the Business India, who started the Business India, and he spared his time to be with us. Thank you for being with us. I think you all have the program before you. So, and I am sorry that I have not thanked the person who's really in charge. I don't know where he is, but he never comes to the forefront. Mr. Yusuf Abrahani, President of an advocate, President of the Islam Gymkhana, who has always stood by us and who has, it is courtesy him that we have been able to have get this hall and the other arrangements. Thank you, Mr. Abrahani. We now begin with our main program. I think the program is before you, so in the order and line, our chief guest has said that he would like not to, to be the first speaker. So yes, so our first speaker will be, Kumar Ketkarji. But before that, I would like to make a small submission of when people have asked, why we are having this program, there is something that I would like to say to all of you who have gathered here, with a big thank you to start with. The topic for today, as you know, is transformational politics, supremacy of the Constitution, democratic rights, civil liberties, and citizen-centric growth. You have a very distinguished panel here to discuss these problems with you. And this is just a small one-para introduction that I'd like to give to this. With the resounding cries of Swaraj echoing throughout the streets and the passionate pursuit of freedom, fueling the hearts of millions, India emerged from the shadows of British colonial rule on this historic day, 15th August in the year 1947. From struggle to triumph, with tireless efforts of our leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Subhash Chandra Bose, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Dadaji Naurodji, Dr. Zakir Hussain, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Sardar Udham Singh, Shahid Bhagat Shahid Singh, Hazrat Mohani, and there are innumerable names that I am not taking here, but they are among the women who were on the forefront of this fight because they never remained behind. We have people like Sarojini Naidu, Aruna Asif Ali, Kasturba Gandhi, B. Amma. She is the one who encouraged and stood up for a lot of independence, and very few people know about that. So Annie Besant, Madam Kama, Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, Begum Hasrat Mahal, Usha Mehta, Amjadi Begum, and millions of common people cutting across religions, cultures, ethnicities. India embarked on a nation-building journey faced with multifaceted challenges that required resilience, determination, ingenuity to overcome them. So we salute them. So happy Independence Day. I want to hear a happy Independence Day. This day marked India's transition from the British colony to a democracy, the first in South Asia, that has since transformed a nation from scarcity into one of the fastest growing economies, earning a global high table and becoming a counterweight to authoritarianism. The bedrock of Indian democracy of the people, its supreme constitution with its preambular values of justice, liberty, equality, fraternity are unexceptionable. Strengthening unity, integrity, and social ties, assuring that the dignity of the individual citizens are non-negotiable concepts. Currently, experts and critics argue that the country in the past few years has seen a gradual decline from some of its commitments. For instance, there are over 1 million Indians alive today. But why are some more Indian than others? Further, are hotly debated, contested ideas of nationalism, patriotism, citizenship, and belonging. Dr. Shashi Tharoor, in one of his very brilliant articles that I thought, called The Struggle for India's Soul, has said, and I quote him, "The struggle for India's soul is heightened, deepened, broadened, threatening to hollow out and destroy the remarkable concepts of pluralism, secularism, and inclusive nationhood that were bestowed upon the nation at independence. The constitution is under siege, Institutions are being undermined, mythical pasts are propagated, universities assailed, minorities demonized, and worse. The powerful idea of, unquote, that was his quote. The powerful idea of India stretching across half a century in the midst of spectacular and often turbulent events has been the existence of its strong, pluralistic, democratic, secular ideals are today being undermined. For centuries, India has invoked boundless respect with tremendous privilege and rare opportunity to be the epicenter of innumerable faith traditions, along with unprecedented contacts with the world's many cultures. Currently, by othering, the threat to dampen India's integral concept of pluralism, secularism, and the spirit of India as an inclusive homeland bestowed upon the nation in independence is being challenged. We see Manipur burning. We see women being shamed, disrobed, raped in public. We have to hang our heads in shame. Women's safety is no longer a subject to be discussed. It is every government research center is showing that women are violated, they are not safe, and their chastity is constantly under threat. We see indigenous cultures which are not really comfortable. Grievances are abounding, and we see attacks on places of worship. We see we see the recent Waqf Act of 1995 threatens ownership of property that belongs to somebody. Agreed that everybody may not be doing the right thing, but there can be discussion on that issue. You cannot take that property away. So there has been grievance on that. Now, the preamble establishes India is a democratic republic where the power lies with we the people, that is you and I, the vote. And also, we are a government, we are a democracy which believes in we the people, by the people, for the people, and of the people. It envisions a system of government where individuals have the right to participate through elected representatives. Do we have a responsibility? Yes or no? We have to answer that question, because when we cast our vote, we have to know what we are doing. It is time to move on. Is it time to move on for transformation, to strengthen everything that is unique and valuable about India, to fulfill the aspirations of the visionary leaders from our history? The future belongs to those who believe in their dreams. And we do have a dream for India. Do we have to wait another century to mold another future? That is a question that we have to answer. Our expert panelists will enlighten us on the theme of the present conference. ये तो छोटा मुंह और बड़ी बात हुई in the presence of uh, distinguished scholars, intellectuals, intelligentsia, and political leaders. But I have just placed a few thoughts before you. Now I would request Admiral Ramdas, I'm sorry, I would request Kumar Ketkar ji to address us on these issues. Uh, Kumar Ketkar ji needs no introduction, and he is a very well-known figure. He is he is presently the member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, and he is to me very close to my heart. He is an advisor to. Am I saying that wrong?
He'll correct you afterwards.
In each talks,
Oh, is it? But no matter. I mean, we still consider you very much there. So, thank you for being with us, and you're very much a part of the advisor for the Wisdom Foundation. From day one, Kumar has stood by the Wisdom Foundation, advised, been with us. He's in Thane, but when I picked up the phone, he's a writer of several books. He's a winner of several awards. He's a well-known journalist, unpretentious, and he speaks his mind. without fear. So I give you Kumar Ketkar.
Thank you for those flattering and completely embarrassing remarks about me. My term in Rajya Sabha ended a few months ago. I am no more member of the Rajya Sabha. Sometimes I feel happy about it. Yeah, and well, actually, there are so many speakers and then so much of Q&A there. So many other people would like to speak. So though she has given me this honor of virtually introducing the debate or discussion or dialogue, I will be very brief. And I think the points everybody knows, the points that deserve special attention. But I just want to make it clear without sounding pessimist or cynical that things are terribly bad, not only in India but the entire subcontinent, notwithstanding Bangladesh, even otherwise. I am very shocked and surprised that we talk about human rights and human dignity, and not one word is spoken in Parliament when I was there about Gaza. Regular genocide is taking place. Already official figure is something like 45,000 people killed, and more people are dying. And there is not a mention. Our newspapers don't write about it. Our newspapers are more concerned about Ajit Pawar and Shinde and things, many people who are otherwise inconsequential to the development in India, truly inconsequential. So that shows the, insensitivity that we are brought in. And that insensitivity is essentially the creation of our media. In fact, very unfortunately, our all consciousness today about social consciousness, political consciousness, about understanding the world is done by the media. Even those who criticize the media, like me, despite being nearly 5 decades in the media, I criticize the media, and yet I depend on media for my information. So being critical of media does not really help because there is no other source, and that media is so completely controlled today like it has never been in India or anywhere in the world. This practice of controlling media was evolved and developed by American deep state after the Vietnam War, when they concluded that the Vietnam War was defeated not only in Vietnam, but on the American soil because of the media which fought against Nixon Kissinger government. So what requires is the control of the media, and that lesson, ever since Robert McNamara and others learned, they have implemented it across the world, and therefore one did not see during Iraq war millions of people dying in bombing, and we did not hear a word. Whereas one single event of My Lai massacre in Vietnam created a worldwide sensation. That shows that even world is becoming insensitive because of the media. So we have to be extremely cautious about what we learn and what we unlearn and what we should not learn from the media. But that being said, I also want to draw your attention. All of us sitting here are essentially middle class people. We don't have any worries of food. We are not waiting for the food ration that Modi claims to give to about 80 crores of people. None of us here depends on that kind of food, that kind of assistance, that kind of new food slavery on the government. And therefore, we must recognize that we all belong to a certain class, which we are privileged and share. We are a nomenclatura of our own country. We are a nomenclatura, privileged class. We are all sitting here are privileged. Being privileged, perhaps we became privileged not now, but at least perhaps 20, 25 years ago. Some people attribute it to 1991 liberalization, and some others condemn before 1991 everything was miserable. That is nonsense. Without Pandit Nehru's fundamental contribution in development, Indira Gandhi's fundamental contribution in promoting public sector, promoting certain line of thinking of development, It was not possible for the current middle class to be like this, but we are still governed by the GDP and the per capita income without looking at the social justice. Whatever may be the shortcomings, alleged shortcomings of Mrs. Gandhi or Pandit Nehru or anybody, we must recognize that debate in 1984 to 1987, if not up to 1989, was not about Hindu-Muslim. It was not about Babri Masjid. It was whether technology should be the prime mover. It was about computerization. There were differences. There were the leftists who were condemning computerization, saying the jobs will go. There were leftists who were saying that Rajiv Gandhi is not promoting really the socialist objectives. And yet the debate was about those issues, about technology, about achieving social welfare systems. After 2087, actually after 89, we suddenly found ourselves debating Hindu-Muslim question. And Bofors and Ayodhya merged in 1989 into a singular campaign. And I'm sorry to say, though I belong to leftist tradition, many leftists joined the anti-Bofors game, anti-Rajiv campaign in a manner that helped actually the right. Till 1989, the BJP and the Hindu-Muslim campaign was not so strong. That became strong because of the so-called liberals in the opposition joined the right wing. And therefore, liberals have the responsibility, share the responsibility of actually promoting the right wing. In 1989, they did not have more than 90 seats, BJP. And suddenly in 2014, they had 282 seats. In 1967, Mrs. Gandhi got 282 seats, but she got 41% vote. Modi got only 31% vote and still he managed to get 282 seats. And we all felt that he is the single largest party and a majority, and large number of media and large number of middle class, educated academics, they started worshipping Modi. This Modi worship actually was a created product of the media. And media not only promoted him, media promoted along with it the Hindu-Muslim divide. So it is not just Modi, it is promoting the Hindu-Muslim divide. Modi, at that time it was Togadia, now Togadia has disappeared. But Modi has survived. And that particular campaign, which began in 1989, look at the sequence of events and I will stop. In 1989, the campaign was on Bofors and Ayodhya. Bofors finally, complete acquittal came after Rajiv Gandhi's death. In 1990, comes VP Singh and introduces Mandal Ayog, and immediately to counter Mandal Ayog. To counter Mandal Ayog, L.K. Advani says we are starting Rath Yatra. And 1990 Rath Yatra begins in October, and when Rath Yatra was stopped by Lalu Prasad Yadav in Samastipur, Advani withdraws the support of VP Singh government, and that is from there on the campaign of Hindu-Muslim began. And just after 2 years of that, between that, Rajiv Gandhi was killed in 1991, and in 1992, Babri Masjid is destroyed. This is only 3-year period. 1990 Rath Yatra, 1991 Rajiv Gandhi is killed, and 1992 Babri Masjid is destroyed. And but for 1992 event of Babri Masjid destruction, there was no possibility of Maharashtra having in 1995 the Shiv Sena BJP government. Shiv Sena of that time, now Shiv Sena is divided. Now Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray is actually distancing himself from that, and in fact Uddhav Thackeray sometimes speaks more secular language than even Congress. In fact, Uddhav Thackeray sometimes confronts Modi even more strong terms than even the so-called liberal opposition, including communists. And therefore, I am not promoting Uddhav. I am not part of the Shiv Sena. I am part of the Congress. I am part of the liberal tradition, and I have opposed Uddhav Thackeray and his Shiv Sena as a media person almost till very recently, till he started saying secular things and secular things more upfront. So point is, everything has changed after 1989-92. 95 came the Shiv Sena BJP government, and 98 came the Vajpayee government. And after 98 Vajpayee government, actually the seeds of Modi were sown. And in perhaps all of you remember, in 2002, Narendra Modi was promoted by no less but Arun Jaitley and L.K. Advani, saying that he is the best chief minister when even Vajpayee was demanding, or at least saying that he demands the resignation of Mr. Modi. So it was Arun Jaitley and Advani who demanded Arun Jaitley is dead and Advani is virtually dead. I mean, politically dead. I mean, he is in Margashek Mandal or Margashek Mandal is virtually dead. So the point is that Modi is a product of all these series of developments. So we are all party to let Modi come to power. We are all party to this particular sentiment of Hindu-Muslim hatred, and it is our responsibility. Therefore, our responsibility primarily, because we have participated in that, just one figure and you will know the difference. In 2009, Congress got 206 seats. 206 seats. In 2004, Congress had got only 145 seats and only 8 seats more than the BJP. And yet Congress could form government because it was an alliance, a progressive alliance in 2004. From that, in 2009, Congress got 206 seats. And just 5 years, 2009, 206 seats, and 2014, 44 seats for Congress. So who was voting? Same people were voting. Same people from your and my families and neighborhood were voting. In 2009, fundamentally, the voters were not different than the voters in 2014, but the poison had gone across between 2009 and 2014. If I may put a hypothesis and close my observation, it is not, Modi is not only a representative of the Indian communal right-wing fascist forces. Modi represents global right-wing military industrial complex forces, global, led by no less but Israel and America. Israel is one of the major inputs behind Modi's power, and we do not recognize that, we don't realize that. And today, if Modi is able to control most of the media, is because of the cyber technology control, and cyber technology in India is completely driven today from Pegasus, from Mossad, from Israel technology. So we have to be aware that we are all governed. We are not as sovereign and independent and autonomous as we think we are. We are not. We are actually driven by the media. We are driven by the cyber media. We are driven by the social consciousness which is against us, and we think we are secular. We are liberal. And why this is happening? Our mere being secular or mere being liberal to ourselves will not help. We have to go to the people. There is a big war between the people on the one hand and the leadership or the intelligentsia on the other. We belong to the intelligentsia. Between us and the people, there is a wall. We have to dent that wall. We thought that the 24 election has dented the wall. I think it just dented. But for Modi, it is just popcorn interval. It is a popcorn interval from earlier 2019, 2024 year started again exactly the same way that you are doing. So if there was any illusion that Modi will be now a little bit of diluted, it has not happened. It will not happen. Modi's DNA is global fascist, not only Indian fascist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kumarji, for your excellent observations. And though it might sound pessimistic, I think it's time for us to really consider these words carefully before we cast our vote, which is now going to be happening in Maharashtra very soon. I now invite Mr. Sanjay Jha. Who doesn't know Mr. Sanjay Jha? He's always on television every day, every day. No, just 1 minute. I would like to say that he's the, very few people really know that he's the executive director of Dale Carnegie in India. He is also the former national spokesman of the Indian National Congress Party, former president of the All India Professional Congress Maharashtra. He has written many books, and he is, his latest book, which I have seen, is brilliant. And, he calls for progressive political change that helps to generate a much needed response. And prior to Dale Carnegie, Sanjay worked with foreign banks and mutual fund companies. And I find it very interesting that he has brought about this beautiful book, which was called My Illegitimate Son, and had it all wondering what the book was about. It was It was about his little dog, and whom he loved. And so Sanjay loves politics, he loves economics, he loves tennis, and he loves dogs. So I give you Sanjay. Sorry.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Guys, can we have a more enthusiastic response? Good evening, everyone. Mr. Khurshid has come all the way from Delhi. Bombay, we can do much better. I didn't say Mumbai, I said Bombay. Mumbai, let's go for it. Good evening. Good evening. I think I would like to start by first saying that probably, Kumar, it may be a popcorn interval from Mr. Modi, but it probably is an Akshay Kumar film that he's part of. So let's hope that the part that now is happening post 2024 is a short-lived and not the kind of hype and hoopla that got the entire world captivated for a pretty long period. So first and foremost, I'm glad that, and I'm making an assumption, that all of us are biologically produced. Thank you very much for that. I'm glad because I'm feeling a lot more comfortable that I'm amongst brothers and sisters. I want to make this point, the very fact that all of us are here today on a Sunday evening. And by a strange coincidence, I've had a couple of programs that have happened on a Sunday evening. I always feel that when people come together on a holiday, you got Monday work tomorrow morning, and when you collectively unite to discuss something about the country and society, it means democracy is pretty much got a reason to be optimistic. Yes or no? And I can tell you that, this morning, and let me give you a very live example. I had an invitation actually to attend, not this morning, but an invitation to talk about my book, which is called 2024 India in Free Fall. Now, this was, of course, written before the elections were announced, but I did see that India has got a pretty tough challenge ahead. So this book was published. Touchwood is done well. If you haven't read it, do grab a copy. See, I'm a spokesperson. I've got to do commercial salesmanship at every point. But to cut to the chase, this book was supposed to be launched at an event in a pretty decent gathering on the 23rd of August. And I just got a message this morning saying that that event will have to be cancelled. And it was a very polite message saying that, it's cancelled because there is some administrative glitch. I didn't probe it further because I guess I'm reasonably enlightened. It so happened that somebody else thereafter sent me a WhatsApp who was going to be part of that entire congregation. And he sent me a confidential note which basically said that there were a lot of people who wanted to protest against my speaking about my book. And they had their way, and I cannot do my book launch at that particular venue for sure. And that tells you that somewhere, even as we clap and celebrate our Independence Day, there are question marks. So I think it's wonderful because Kumar has basically laid out the whole global paradigm and, of course, a historical background to where we are today. So let me just come straight to some contemporary issues because I'm followed by Mr. Khurshid, who I think is probably going to take us all by storm. Am I building up some tension, Mr. Khurshid? Okay. But that's my job, right? So here it is. I want to give you a name. And you're going to tell me if you ever heard this name before. Okay? Don't try and look into your mobile phones because 99%, I'm taking a wild guess, you haven't even heard of this. But let me test you. Have you heard of a name called Ram Nagesh Srinivas Akupathini? No way, right? No. This room has got high level of integrity. Because very soon I'll tell you why that name is important for us when we discuss Indian democracy. The second name is a pretty ordinary name. You might have heard it, but you've got to hear it in political context. That's my question for you. The second name is Chetan Singh. Does it ring a bell for anyone? Probably not. Okay. Now let me tell you what these names are all about. The first name belongs to actually an IIT graduate from Hyderabad. And it came into the national attention because he actually attacked the captain of the Indian cricket team, then captain of the Indian cricket team. As you all know that the captain of the Indian cricket team is deemed to be next to the Prime Minister. Personally, I think the captain of the Indian cricket team ought to be ahead of the Prime Minister, but that's my personal opinion. I think most of you will agree, but you don't have to become very voluble. We don't want an FIR here today. The larger point is that he threatened the captain because the captain of the team defended one of his colleagues who had been taken to the cleaners by the Pakistani batsman in a T20 World Cup match in Dubai, or rather in the Middle East. The mistake that Mr. Kohli made was when his colleague Mohammad Shami was trolled on social media. Many people called him a traitor, that he deliberately bowled badly to the Pakistani batsman. Mr. Kohli, as a good captain, and I think as a leadership manifestation, went up there and defended his colleague. And that was deemed to be sacrilege in the mind of this young IIT graduate, whom without this background you would see as a future of Indian technology and what we call as the big Indian dream. By the way, I'm trying to soften this for you, because if you really want to know the truth, he threatened his 9-month-old daughter at that point in time. I can't even tell you how ugly, vicious, vituperative, and downright vulgar it was. So I asked myself a question. As a spokesperson, that's the best thing you can do. You can't ask the anchor. So you have to ask yourself these questions. A young IIT graduate who's got a great career ahead of him indulges in the most vile act against the captain of the Indian cricket team's young child. What kind of toxicity has got into him? And I don't think you can ignore this and say, you know what, this is a one-off. It's like, there are people who get a little carried away. If you do think that, I'm going to give you the second example. In a train that was coming from Jaipur towards Mumbai, there was a police officer whose job was to look after the passengers. I think all of you know what I'm talking about. Right? Yeah. He hunts people down. He hunts people down. It's not that the rifle just accidentally took off. He actually was looking around to target people that he could hurt and harm, and which he did. And as somebody who lives in Mumbai, and I think Kumar is so right, we are so privileged here. It bothered me. And I'll tell you what bothered me even more. What bothered me even more is across the length and breadth of the people that I know and interact with, when I mentioned these instances, they were like, wow, crazy, that's terrible, that's awful, that's disgusting. But after that, there was no thought, there was no conversation. People had moved on to the next cappuccino. And I want to tell you this because this is where we come in, all of us in this room.
Sir,
A society.
Azad is going on, sir.
Yeah.
1 minute.
1 second, sir. 1 second.
Yeah.
Please continue, sir.
So here is my point, ladies and gentlemen, that a democracy or a society is made up by its people. And one of the biggest mistakes a lot of us make, we are so presumptuous that we believe that it can only be fought for by somebody who's part of media, as Kumar mentioned. Yes, it's critical by people like all of us who have been part of the political ecosystem, by people who occupy positions of influence. I believe everyone matters. And I think everyone in this room this evening, because you have taken the trouble to come here to listen to Mr. Khurshid and Zeenat and Kumar and myself and a whole lot of other people, I think do not diminish your own importance. I'm no one here to comment on what happened in our neighboring country. But I can tell you that an authoritarian regime that is repressive, it doesn't mean that the people who are not able to speak don't have a voice. And we need to understand that voices will always be there who will question. And I think we as individuals make the biggest mistake because we are so self-censored, we don't even talk to each other about the problems that we make. And terrible things happen because people just go silent. They don't stand up for themselves. I'll give you two examples. Today we talked of the Independence Day. On the day Mr. Modi was making his speech, India's celebrated Olympian hope was denied her medal. And it happened on the same day, on the Day of Independence. I thought that was such an ironical development. A champion, Ayaz is one of the best sports writers and thinkers of this country. A champion who was on the streets of Delhi begging for justice was not heard for months now. She could have been India's second silver medal or the only gold medal that we could have got. And a government and a political party chose instead to defend somebody who was a sexual predator. I want to ask you one disturbing question. How many of us in this room truly, during the time when many of them were protesting, were actually even tweeting or talking about it to our friends and people to say that was wrong? Many of us did, many of us didn't, many of us chose to actually be a little quiet. Don't protest because the government might get angry. In 2 years earlier than that, when India was celebrating its 75th independence celebrations, 11 people who had gang raped Bilkis Banu were released. And I asked myself just one question on the day. What kind of a street? I'm a Hindu, as you already know. I love my country. I've had opportunities to work abroad. I chose to be here. And I said, how can we as a country collectively go to sleep in the night after what was done to Bilkis Banu in 2002 and allow her to be humiliated and kind of tortured in broad daylight without an iota of compunction or any emotional depth? It had to talk about a callousness that I had rarely seen or read about. But I think large sections of India chose to be okay with that. And I want to wrap up because I want to hear Mr. Khurshid. So here is my point. That a country, ladies and gentlemen, is not made by infrastructure of bridges and dams and ports and airports and flyovers and multiplexes and malls and a 5G. We need to build bridges between people. It's not the bridges, we need to build bridges. And I can tell you, being a student of political history, I just feel that somewhere down the line that if we are not going to question the powers that be, then we fail our duties. If we're going to be scared of what Mr. Modi's government can do, then we cease to be the democratic citizen we should be actually in our real lives. There's a very famous quote that a true patriot, and I've used it before, I'll repeat it again for your benefit. A true patriot is one who fights for his country against his government. Your government is a government. Mr. Modi is here today, he'll be gone tomorrow. The Congress hopefully will come back. When India Alliance comes back, if they do badly, they will go tomorrow. There is nothing permanent in life. There are no permanent winners, there are no permanent losers. But standing up for truth, ladies and gentlemen, is not just the job of Mr. Khurshid, Mr. Ketkar, Azinath, and some of us who go on public platforms. You got to fight for the truth every day as well. Small groups will do it. Don't shirk away. And sometimes you'll feel weird because your friends and your colleagues and your relatives on WhatsApp groups will be on the other side of the fence. It happens. My own brother, by the way, who's in New York and is a very successful man, he's an ex-banker, is the most, I would say, avid, if not rabid supporter of Mr. Modi. And we are brothers, we are all brothers. The other day, Times Now even did a coup and got us on the same show. Yeah. I won't tell you who had the last word. But if you have been hearing me right now, once I take the mic, I don't give it. So, but here's my last point. Gandhiji famously said, even if you're in a minority of one, the truth remains the truth. Yeah? And I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful because I'm always reminded, and I think some of the people in power should know this, of what Azad India famously said. सभी का खून है शामिल यहाँ की मिट्टी में, किसी के बाप का हिंदुस्तान तो नहीं है.
I am doing unconventional intervention. I'll just take 1 minute. That 1 minute is, Amir Khan produced a film on Fogart sisters, which made 1,000 crore rupees. He did not utter a word when they were struggling there. He did not utter a word after even silver winning. Forget whether she got the gold or not. According to me, that gold was denied to her by conspiracy and not by any kind of chance or something. It was conspiratorial denial. But point is, entire Bollywood has kept quiet. And half of the cricket teams kept quiet to the issues he raised about Virat Kohli and Shami. So that is our society. Let us not forget that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you for that very big eye opener, and thank you for your introduction to Kumarji. I now request our chief guest, Shri Salman Khurshid Alam Sahab, who has come all the way from Delhi. I really appreciate and thank him for his very distinguished presence. And I tell you one thing, that I'm a great fan of Salman Khurshid, that because though he is in politics, he's a scholar, he's a writer, he's a thinker, he's highly educated. I don't think there are too many politicians like him anymore. He's a senior advocate. Please let me give you, he needs no introduction, but very briefly, he's a senior advocate, eminent writer, a law teacher, a former cabinet minister of the Ministry of External Affairs, earlier Deputy Union Minister of Commerce. He became Union Minister of State with independent charges of corporate affairs and minority affairs in the Government of India, 2009. He is the Cabinet Minister of Law and Justice for Minority Affairs in the Government of India, 2011. He has been the President of the Uttar Pradesh Congress Committee twice. He was also the President of the Delhi Public School Society. He heads the Dr. Zakir Naik Study Circle. He's a patron of Mother Teresa Memorial Trust and Mother Teresa Foundation. And he is a great writer. He has been deeply involved in writing, acting in plays since his college days in Delhi and in Oxford. He's the author of the plays Sons of Babur. You should read that and you should see that play. Published by Rupa and Company, which has been staged with Tom Walter in the lead role at the Red Fort in Delhi. I was fortunate enough to be invited and watch that play. Salman Khurshid is also the editor of the contemporary conservative selected writings of Dhiren Bhagat, published in 1990, and in 2021 he published Sunrise over Ayodhya, Nationhood in Our Times. And I would like to give him a big hand in congratulating him to win the presidentship of the Islamic Culture Center, Delhi. So congratulations. Please give him a very big hand. And as Sanjay said, I want to be allowed.
Thank you very much for your very generous introduction. And as Kumar Ketkar said, uh, perhaps your generosity puts us all into a sense of reflection about our modesty. There's some very distinguished colleagues who are still to speak to everyone, and a very spirited, energizing, everything. The intervention that was made by my friends Anjina makes everything a little tougher and more difficult
Kindly switch off your mobiles. Kindly do not interrupt.
to be able to say anything.
Subai.
This is a moment. This is a moment of optimism, clearly, because this is a celebration of our independence, the celebration of our independence anniversary, and therefore, to be able to be encountered with a sense of foreboding, of pessimism, because of what some people have done to our country and are doing to our country, is very discomforting. Discomforting, and where does one find a balance between the optimism that one must generate in moments that are so important, and yet to be encountered by pessimism, which is inevitable due to the circumstances that we encounter. There are some interesting things, and I say interesting with care, which are likely to be encountered by us. And I found strains of the concern in what Kumar Ketkar said about how, in a particular moment, spread over many years and decades perhaps, the liberal left in our country assumed that it was taking on the conservative right, but conservative right of the minorities. It happened with Shah Bano, it happened with Triple Talaq, it happened in various ways. And I remember a debate between MJ Akbar and Syed Shahabuddin, who were both very dear friends, very much on the same side, till the break happened, public break happened, when MJ wrote 3 long pieces against Shahabuddin, and not just that, but went and contested against Shahabuddin and ousted him from parliament. But that's part of history. The important thing then was, and I don't blame. Thank you. I don't blame the left for having taken that position, because it was consistent with what they felt. It's just that it was very difficult to explain to them that whatever they were doing would have long-term implications, which are of a very different nature. This happened during the emergency as well, I'm told. In emergency, people from the right and the extreme left were incarcerated together and came in contact with each other, and assumed that they had some shared aspirations or shared concerns to be expressed against Indira Gandhi, who they blamed for what had happened to them. But the consequences, long-term consequences of what was done at that time may have been justified, because they were fighting for freedom. One way or the other, they were fighting for freedom. Of course, the ironic thing is, but that's not what I'm here to discuss today, that Indira Gandhi also presumably felt that she was fighting for freedom. It's just that her freedom and their freedom were at two different ends of the spectrum. But inevitably what happened is that there were certain issues relating to Muslims of India that I think, and I'm afraid I have to admit this, that Muslims of India, through the representatives they had, whether they were partly political representatives, partly religious representatives, spoke their cause very poorly. They spoke their cause poorly because they didn't know how to communicate with the majority. Majority was not always very communal. The majority even today is not communal. It's sections of the majority that have become communal. There are a variety of reasons, and I'm sure people who study communalism and fascism, as they said, would be able to pinpoint who has become a fascist for what reason and who's become communal for what reason. But we know that a vast number of them are not communal. but often get influenced by communal thinking for a variety of reasons. And I think one of those things are our inability to communicate. Now, in the weeks and months to come, we are all going to be encountered with two things. We have a lot of backlog stuff about rights, about CAA and NRC, things of that kind. But two things that will be very prominent in the times to come. And times to come means a few months or few weeks or a few years up front. One is UCC, and the other one is attempts to dilute the autonomy and identity and integrity of institutions that Muslims have a special concern about. Aligarh Muslim University, for instance, of course the matter is in the Supreme Court, and we have to trust the Supreme Court, but the manner in which it's being presented to the Supreme Court makes one worried as to what the, don't mind my saying so, poor Supreme Court will do with the material that's being placed before the Supreme Court. This is a controversial statement. I think you were hoping that I would make a controversial statement. But I do think the tragedy of Babri Masjid and the loss that people felt of the demolition of Babri Masjid and the consequences that followed perhaps will diminish in front of what might happen if the minority character of Aligarh is taken away. Because Aligarh is a living institution. Babri Masjid was not a living institution. There are thousands of mosques, thousands and innumerable number of mosques where people can go and pray and have continued to pray. But there are no 1,000 Aligarh Muslim universities. There's only one. And if that goes, and it isn't that there will not be, from what I understand from the arguments before the Supreme Court, it's not that there's no chance if Aligarh goes, that there's no chance of having a minority university. That matter has all been settled now. You can have a minority university, many minority universities, but you cannot have Aligarh, the legacy that Aligarh represents, and what Sir Syed had seen and dreamt of, and the people, generation after generation, have continued to attach themselves to. I think that will be lost, and that's a very, very big question. The point is, of course, Aligarh is a peculiar jurisprudential constitutional question. But the point, of course, is that arguments of similar nature are being propounded for other institutions. And if many members here of Islamic Center, and of course, one of the places where I had to come and do advocacy to become president of the Islamic Center was this very hall. And I came when there was great uncertainty about which way Mumbai or Bombay chapter will go. There was great uncertainty. And what they have done is a strange kind of history, but they've contributed to my victory, and it's been a handsome victory. So I can't cavil with the manner in which they handled this situation, but they've done it. But I do know that there was a question mark being placed on the character of Islamic Center. I don't want to go into those details anymore, but there was a question mark being placed. All we had to do was to present ourselves and say who's the best candidate to be able to prevent that question mark from gaining ground. But the fact is that a question mark was being placed on that institution. We may think it's a small institution, but somebody somewhere thought it was a very important institution. A question mark being placed on Aligarh, a question mark being placed on Jamia Millia, and in many cases such as these, people have collaborated and cooperated from within. We have. When I say we Muslims have collaborated and cooperated in the name of dialogue. And there is nothing wrong with dialogue. Dialogue is important. One should dialogue, particularly in a democracy. You have a government that you don't entirely agree with, but governments have responsibilities, and therefore they need to dialogue with every section of society, in every section of the electorate. And therefore, a dialogue is impossible, is to be preferred. But when you do a dialogue, you have to do some exercises before you go into the dialogue to be sure that you're not being taken for a ride. That's, of course, an important matter. But what is UCC going to do for many good non-Muslims and for some Muslims? UCC represents something rational and sensible. There are many things that we are told are part of Islam, and we are only told that these things are part of Islam. We are not told these things are part of Christianity or Hinduism or Jainism, etc. There are many traditional things about religion that are to be found in all religions, and there are many things that we have tried to go beyond and not continue arguing about that. But if you set yourself down to working on what is it that Islam has said or done, please don't take me wrong. Much of what people think is wrong with Islam is not what is said in Islam. Something completely different is said in Islam. And therefore, if we know the truth, and even that is not palatable to somebody in our country, compatriots, then I'm prepared to say that let's have a dialogue and work something out. But that's not what I've understood in Islam in the triple talaq. That's not what I've understood in Islam in Shabano. That is not what I've understood in Islam in many other forms, including what happened with hijab. Must acknowledge here with gratitude what the Supreme Court's attitude has been on hijab. That's something that we must accept and acknowledge what the Supreme Court. So in that sense, we don't have to be pessimistic, because there's still somebody somewhere who says, no, this is all completely wrong, and what is being asked for may not be something that we necessarily would do to ourselves, but this is a right that people have in the Constitution, and therefore they must have it. Now, what has happened to the UCC? In the UCC, it's almost like your view against mine, and you are in majority, so your view will prevail. But UCC is not about your view against mine and your view to prevail because you're in a majority, but the UCC is about something that makes a big question mark on the fundamentals of the Constitution. So whenever somebody says, whatever they call it secular code, they call it whatever code, they may call it Modi code, whatever they call it, but the fact remains that the UCC, as imagined and as attempted to be implemented, should be seen clearly as a change and a fundamental, far-reaching change of the Constitution. Not just simply changing marriage laws, not just simply changing inheritance laws, they're actually changing the Constitution. Good or bad, it's the Constitution that we have loved. It's the Constitution that was given to us by our forefathers. It is a Constitution that we live by. It is a Constitution that everybody says they live by, including the very people who are talking about UCC. So people who are talking about UCC are not talking about UCC, they're talking about the Constitution. And they want to change the Constitution. I wish they would have the courage to say, we want to change the Constitution. This Constitution is unacceptable and inadequate. Let them say that, so that we know what the fight is about. The fight is not about whether you give 1/3 here or 2/3 here. The fight is not about what relationship you can have in marriage. The fight is not about what you need to do with for your wife's maintenance, etc. All those things are clearly available. There is no great problem. They're all clearly available. But what does the UCC say? Does the UCC say that there is something very good in Islamic marriage, which is the contractual right that the woman has to refuse or to accept against a meher? Will every non-Muslim woman in this country have the right to meher? will every non-Muslim woman have the right that a Muslim woman has as far as divorce is concerned? And please take it for argument that she has a lot as far as divorce is concerned. It's an aberration and a deformation of Islam which takes away her rights. So, if her rights are there, will those rights be available to a non-Muslim woman also under UCC? In fact, they will not be. Not be. Even the pretended UCC doesn't provide that this will be available in the UCC. Now the Waqf Act. They want to amend the Waqf Act. So innocuous. It is so innocuous that something is government property, you can't declare it as a Waqf. You don't need an act to tell you that. If something is government property, how can I go and declare that to be a Waqf? It has to be my property and then it'll be Waqf. Otherwise, it won't be a Waqf. But if it becomes Waqf, then it becomes property of God Almighty, of Allah. Then it is not my property anymore. There has to be a dedication of that property. And then it doesn't matter who my relatives are and who my descendants are. It's gone. The property is gone to Almighty God. After that, it's not with me. Now you can't reverse that process and say you can make a waqf, but you can't make a waqf that take away your rights of inheritance, etc., etc. Now that is a fundamental question: how Muslims see themselves and their lives, and how Hindus see themselves and their lives. And I want to just share with you, we had a discussion with Mr. Rajiv Gandhi before the controversial women's the Shabano judgment. After the Shabano judgment, the Rights of Women on Divorce Act is passed. And there were Aligarh students who sat for an hour and spoke to Rajiv Gandhi about Shabano, the issue of Shabano. At the end of that discussion, Rajiv Gandhi said, all right, thank you. I understand. Your concept of marriage and our concept of marriage are different. I will respect your concept of marriage. And I believe he attempted to do that in the legislation that came. That legislation was then supported by 5 judges of the Supreme Court in Daniel Latifi's case, saying that this is exactly what we said is required to be done. And this is what is now being done. We accept his judgment. To my great surprise, two judges have gone beyond those 5 judges to say, no, this is all wrong. You can't take away rights of a woman simply because she belongs to a particular religion. Anyway, so that's a matter for judges to work out, and I'm sure that there will be a discussion on that. But the point is, because we cannot explain our law, because we can't explain our morality, somebody assumes the wrong version of it and then strikes it down to say, look, we are doing away with an injustice. And then some of us get confused and say, well, perhaps it was unjust, and therefore what they're doing is not entirely wrong. So the trouble is, what we are is being questioned. This is a very, very major attack that is now coming on our identity. Up till now, the identity was some clothes here, some language there, some food here, some food there, etc. That's all it was about. Now, there's a basic fundamental question that is coming, saying, if we disagree with your religion, then is your religion outside the Constitution? This is a very major question. So why, when Constitution says you have the right to follow your own religion, then what is the Constitution saying? Is the Constitution saying something which is neither here nor there? This is a major, major challenge to us, and all of us who have any responsibility or feel sense of responsibility, I believe, need to debate this matter and debate it in a manner in which our non-Muslim friends can understand. We've never made them understand. They sometimes are generous and believe that they can overlook our shortcomings. But I think that we need to open our hearts and share with them. First, we have to open our hearts and share with our own people. If our own women understand or do not understand what the right thing is, we must talk to them. We must ensure that they understand what it is. It's not about mathematical equality and similarity between one religion and another, because religions are different, they come from different backgrounds and are different. We can't have a non-religious society in India. You can't have a non-religious society anywhere in the world. They tried to do it in Russia, they tried to do it in China, but I think 70 years later, people have discovered that religion does not disappear. It comes right back where they belong. So these are just some warnings that I want to flag for you. We are in for something very, very, very tiresome, troubling, and destructive, possibly. Destructive to the way of life that we have imagined and that we have tried to live in this country, despite all the setbacks that we've suffered. And we need to be prepared for this. And our non-Muslim friends, much more than us, have to be prepared. So it's no longer the left taking a view which is progressive and therefore saying that you are wrong. It is no longer a question of a liberal saying, let them do the wrong that they want to do. It is a question of working on what is the right. Let us figure out what we are doing is not wrong in the first place. It is right in the first place. And people who have wronged us by taking a different view, which is in fact a wrong view, not a correct view. And therefore, in the world, people have been able to make adjustments and accommodation without violating the basic tenets of Islam. And if they can do it, we can do it. But what is to be done needs to be debated, discussed publicly, openly amongst ourselves, so that we are fully prepared. Intellectually, let's not get defeated. And if we are not defeated intellectually, I believe politically we will succeed as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kushi. I think we have to think very deeply about what he has said. And thank you for sharing your views, which I think are so controversial and so important to the Muslim community for them to think about what is right and what their religion is.
Conscious of what you have written, and then I've said.
Thank you. May I introduce to you our next speaker, Justice Abhay Madhav Dev Thipse, a retired judge of the Bombay High Court and the Allahabad High Court. He started his career as an advocate in 1979, was appointed as Metropolitan Magistrate in the Judicial Service of the state of Maharashtra in 1987. From 2011 to 2016, he was a judge of the High Court in Bombay, where he handled civil suits and criminal trials which were very complex, lengthy, and sensitive. And the long and short of it is that he is a very just, fair, and a secular judge. Justice Thipse presided over the very high-profile cases that garnered significant media attention. The trial of Tantrik Chandra Swami in 1994-1995 and the conviction of Anna Hazare in 1999. The Best Bakery case and the Shohrabuddin encounter case. We couldn't have anyone better than you, sir, with us. And I would like to say that he's an internationally rated chess player, which makes it very difficult for anyone to believe. So I give you justice.
Thank you very much, madam. I will start with the last thing which you said. These things are not known to many people. And the problem with me was that I could never boast of my achievements because my brother is a grandmaster. The grandmaster is in your house, we want to tell people that you are also an international rated player. So anyway, my experience is more about law only, not about these other social aspects. My reading has also been mostly about law and constitution. And after hearing these speakers, with their scholarships in those subjects like Kumar Ketkar, Salman Khurshid, and of course he is to person, his profession is to speak. So of course we were all delighted by that. I would go in a little different way because I had no philosophical background as such, because I was a judge for a long time. I came from services. I would like to share certain things with you. I don't pretend to offer a solution. nor do I want to give an impression that I am pessimistic or optimistic, but I will tell you certain facts before you which I experienced. This was long back when I became a magistrate. It was in '87. Till then, atmosphere in our house was entirely different. I did not know that there is so much discrimination in society depending on the religion. The first thing which I noticed is the police force at the lowest level. Police force at the lowest level, even at that time, they had a complete bias against Muslims. And since I was a Hindu, I am a Hindu, and belong to a Brahmin community, some senior officers of the police, in respect of one or two matters, met me in chambers. It's courtesy visit, so we allow them. So, knowing my background and going by my caste and all that, they must have thought that I must be sharing this feeling. So they told me, sir, he's a Muslim. So I was very much annoyed because, and then I asked them politely to leave. But then I realized, right from constabulary up to this IPS level, there was a sudden hidden bias. Means it was not very apparent. It would not be noticed so easily, but it is very much there. And this thing first I noticed. Then of course I started. I have many friends who were secular at that time, but unfortunately today they argue with me because their children have made them non-secular. I asked them why this difference in your opinion. In the college you used to say like this. So they said no, but now my opinion changed because my son says so and he argues this way. What I have realized, my father was a doctor professionally. He was not in politics, though he was a freedom fighter. What he used to say in those days, when RSS was not thought formidable by anyone, he used to say, I remember I was 5, 6, 62, 63, used to say that you must ban this organization, otherwise they are going to destroy the whole country. And that time nobody took it seriously. I mean, they hardly mattered for people. It was discussed within certain communities in whispers. But I must tell you that they have a theory. All this, I don't profess to be a very learned person in social sciences, but I don't believe that Modi has changed the views of others. In fact, I feel that he only realized that these views are there. This is the inside feeling. Give a boost to that and you automatically become popular. In some government books, government publication, it is of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's collection. I don't remember the exact way. He has compared some leaders, and in that one thing which he has written is very remarkable. He says, who is a great leader? A leader is a person who leads you. But here that doesn't happen. I have seen leaders who see what is the wave in the society. And you give that slogan only, so automatically you have so many followers. I can give you the example of a political party here. When there was some problem with South Indians, because South Indians after this creation of this Maharashtra, South Indians came here, migrated to Mumbai, and they were better in English probably, and they were getting better jobs. And there was some, I mean, bias about that, some grievance people felt about that. Maharashtrians, they were unemployed. So that time, if you give a slogan against these South Indians, automatically you become popular. But are you suggesting what is to be done? No, you have no way. When this started becoming little open against Muslim, then that party goes against Muslim. Then it abandons that fight with South Indians or North Indians as the you see what way the people feel, and then you give that slogan. And then the other parties, unfortunately, I have realized, of course, my experience being limited, people can correct me, but I have seen that even the major parties, other parties which are neutral, their leadership is absolutely secular. They don't have such bias also. But the problem is they need to get votes. Now, if the people are not going to give votes, what is the solution for them? I mean, to be out of power. And for how many years? And meanwhile, this party will be active. They will further destroy your chances of coming to power. Now, what is the solution? So they are giving a moderate reaction. Means they don't want to ally or shake the basic beliefs of the people. This is the problem before this country. I don't know what is the solution. But the mindset of the people must be changed. That is what my view is. Now, about Shah Banu judgment, of course, he is a senior advocate. But I tell you what is my observation about this Shah Banu case. There also the Muslims revolted against that judgment. that was not seen in proper picture according to me. Because I had studied that judgment. I read it. And I remember when I started practice, and of course Nirmala was also there at that time, divorced Muslim women used to get maintenance under 125 even at that time. 125 they used to give. There were two judgments given by Justice Krishna here. One was that Bai Tahira and some other, where a similar challenge was given. I'm not on the correctness of, I'm just giving the background. There what had happened, Justice Krishna here said that yes, all right, maybe that mayor has been paid, but we can't allow a lady to be in the street. The constitution is supreme, and if she is starving, she should get maintenance. And no protest was there. They used to get. In Shah Banu's case, what happened? The Supreme Court, if you see, that is a sarcastic tenor to that judgment. They tried to interpret the Quran. Now, the problem was not with giving maintenance to a divorced woman. That the Muslim community would not have been offended with that. They were getting already, I can tell you. The problem was somebody is trying to project your religion in a particular way and then showing that that fault is being removed by an interpretation of your Quran, Holy Quran. So that was the problem, but this was not properly projected. Even I thought that why they should be so much agitated, but nobody put it properly. Nobody put it properly. Even I read in very few books it has been really mentioned why that judgment was. It is not that way that a woman is getting maintenance and that is why the Muslim community is against her. That is how it was projected. So this is, sort of this misunderstanding. These people have a theory. They have a theory. Now, I had gone for my relative, as I said, many of them are in the RSS or connected with RSS in some way. So I know more about these people. So, what had happened? I had gone for a publication of a book written by my close relative. So there were many people of that. So on the occasion of that book also, the subject of that book was not political at all. But people said that, see, Hindus have no bhumi. Everybody has got bhumi. Even Jews had no bhumi, but Jews have got bhumi. So Hindus should have bhumi. And this they spread, between themselves. This is their theory that we had this bhumi. And our problems, they create a belief that our problems are created because of these minorities' aggressions. And they came here, and that is why our problems are there. It is absolutely false, because none of the problems which Hindus are facing today are due to the minorities. It is impossible. And in fact, I asked some of my honest friends who used to argue in favor of BJP or RSS, that would you prefer to be a Hindu in India or Muslim? Then they used to think. Because I feel that it is quite different for this discrimination in subtle forms. It used to exist earlier also. It has now become open. It is very open. Now I am disturbed by that. See, that Vishalgarh, what I was told, Vishalgarh, of course, everybody knows that violence and all that. But what I did not know, and I came to know only 3-4 days back from an eyewitness, that there were girls holding swords in their hands, girls of age group between 16 to 18. That we see, that is the age to fall in love and to have tender feelings. And there they were holding these swords, and they are taught by some Hindu brigade. And there is no publicity given to this, that these type of, suppose the girls are doing this, it's the most dangerous thing for our country. Then another thing, yesterday, of course, that video many people must have seen, unnecessarily is talking about Prophet Muhammad and all that. That is too much. I mean, there is no reason. This is just to tease. This is deliberately to create a riot, so that if you speak in favor of the Muslims, then immediately your political votes will go. Probably that is why everybody is keeping quiet. Now, if the society is of this type, let us not say that, let us not, under the slogans, Mera Bharat Mahan and all that, we need not forget the reality. If the society is like this, I feel it very difficult for the political parties also to suppress the wrong. What can they do? If I am a Brahmin, then I am going to vote for a Brahmin only, even if the Muslim is much better than him as a person. Then what is the alternative for the party? This is the problem. So we have to educate the society first. I think it will be a difficult task, but we have to interact with people, challenge them, because they give all false figures. They state falsehood. History, though, they Now somebody was arguing with me that Taj Mahal is not built by Shah Jahan. It is Tejo Mahal, built by a Hindu. This type of nonsense also, people just listen and this sort of. Then again, I will tell you, because majority of the persons here are Muslim, there is a fear in the mind of some people about Muslims because they conquer, and there are stories told that your life was very miserable. Now you take revenge. You take revenge. That is the feeling of this. These otherwise these girls of 16 to 18 years, they won't be there with swords to kill Muslims. You are telling them that. So how to go about that? I already said I don't profess that I have a solution, but we need to all interact and accept the reality that this is so. There is no point in even the judgments of the Supreme Court. I will tell you, some of the judgments when some minor harm was done, that was not challenged at that time. Of course, he's a senior advocate. He would know minor observations have been given up because in the ultimate end they do not do much harm. And some of the judgments I tell you, I think that citation, of course, I can't give you, but you must be aware of that. And, see, in Gujarat, some because of the pressure of Jain community, some notification is issued by the government stopping. Modi, yes, that sale of meat was prohibited during Navratri, so that was challenged. But the circular was upheld. No problem with that. I don't say judges, honorable judges have their own views, and one can't say that only this view is correct. But one strange observation was made in that judgment. It was said that ours is a multi-communal society or something of that sort. And we must show respect for each other, and tolerance is the guide. Now, I wonder, tolerance means who should be taught about this tolerance? Whether that should have been told to the Jain community or to the Muslim community. They were going that, but this wrong observation has remained like that. In fact, that should have been applicable to them. Sorry, I think I have taken more time. But I got carried away with there is no time. Otherwise, I will tell you one or two things only. When I was a judge, I came across a case where that some hate speech was given against Prophet Muhammad, and the FIR was registered. But for these, government sanction is required for prosecuting. So what had happened? Mischievously, a charge sheet was filed without sanction. It was kept pending in the court for more than 3 years, and then the issue of sanction was raised, saying that this cognizance cannot be taken. The magistrate did not understand, but he was probably a fair man. He said, no, without sanction I will take cognizance, which was wrong. So session court had set it aside. Now when it came before me by way of criminal writ, I found that what had happened, the sanction was actually already given, but it was kept by the district magistrate with him for a number of years. And this district magistrate, they said that we have given the sanction and district magistrate has received it. So the period of limitation will start running. But I said that district magistrate did not forward it to the police who would file the charge sheet. So the entire time has to be excluded and it will be within time like that. So what I need to say, but there I made some strong observations and I wrote to the government. Directly I could not write. I asked the registrar to send a copy to the chief secretary or placing it before the chief minister. That you make inquiries that why the district magistrate doesn't forward the sanction for 5 years. Hold an inquiry. But nothing was done in that matter. So thank you very much. I have taken a lot of time. And there are many thank you.
Thank you so much. Father, we are here. Please have a seat. Do not leave. We have Father Cedric Prakash, who is Mr. Kushid has only gone to see the press. The press wants to talk to him, and they were waiting for him for a long time. So he's just gone there. He's coming back. Father Cedric Prakash has come all the way from Ahmedabad for us. He's a distinguished member of the Society of Jesus. He is on the national program of the Secretary of the All India Catholic University Federation, UAICUF. He's a renowned author of human rights, reconciliation, peace activism with a focus on advocacy, a celebrated prolific writer on subjects related to social justice, peace, communal harmony, environment, contextual spirituality. He has articles published nationally and internationally. And in 1996, he is a winner of several awards. If I were to only to read his biodata, I think the rest of the time would be taken in that. He was confirmed. He was awarded the Anubhai Criminal Nagarika Puraskar by the mayor of Ahmedabad for his contribution to Ahmedabad society. He was confirmed the Kabir Puraskar by the President of India for his work in the promotion of communal harmony in 1995. In 2006, he was named Cavalier of Legion of Honor, one of the highest French civilian awards that one can win, acknowledging his commitment to the defense and promotion of human rights in India. Father Prakash has been awarded the Rafi Ahmad Kidwai Award presented by humanitarian work for Indian Muslim services and a number of other awards. So without taking his time, I'm giving him, I request him to address us.
With your permission, can I stand up and speak? Okay, for the simple reason is that some of you are not able to see me. So thank you very much, Dr. Zina Chaukatali Wisdom Foundation, and my dear sisters and brothers gathered here. You all have listened to 4 very illustrious talks by very eminent personalities, and I've come quick, and we still have another one coming after me, the former mayor of Bombay. It's good to be here. Today, I'm a priest, a Jesuit priest. Chaukatali knows St. Xavier's College very well, Dr. Chaukatali. I belong to that, but I live in Ahmedabad, work on human rights, and she asked me to focus on human rights. Today, very symbolically, the Sunday after the 15th of August, the Catholic Church in India observes Justice Sunday all over the country. And I feel very privileged that on this Justice Sunday of the Catholic Church within the Christians of India, I'm here to speak to you a bit about human rights. A lot have already been said. Excellent presentations, and I think each of the speakers needed several hours to be able to explain. And we have had excellent presentations in a very brief time. I would like to collapse what I'm going to say in 5 words, all beginning with the letter C. The first is compassion. And I think one of the things that whole yatra by Rahul Gandhi was about to stop hate, bring love into the country. It is the message that Jesus gave his disciples. Compassion, love one another. So the way people are denigrated, demonized, divided is because the other, namely our sisters of the Muslim community, are violent people. They will kill, they will take away your daughters and so on. So unless across the board we have this compassion, and today we Jesuits celebrate the feast of a great saint called Alberto. Sandeja was saying, don't look into your phones and so on, but look into your phones. Alberto Hurtado, he's a patron saint of Chile, far away in America. And he believed the only way by which to address violence, the way to address injustice, is to reach out to others with compassion. And he addressed the structural injustice, the structural hate, violence of his country, Chile, and right there in South America, a great Jesuit. So today on the 18th of August, we celebrate. So unless we ensure that there is compassion in our DNA, here of those present, in our communities, in our religions, in this country, we are not going to change anything. In order to have compassion across the board, my second C is collaboration. We need to collaborate. People have divided us in the name of ethnicity, in the name of caste, in the name of religion. What I'm talking about is not about a uniform civil code. It is not about one nation, one election. It is all humbug. It is, as Salman Khurshid was just saying, it is about touching the essence of the Constitution. It's about, and the way people have divided us in the name of religion. I have spoken in several gatherings, big gatherings in Kerala. about 6 times in 1 year to the some of the major bishops. And the way they have divided the church in Kerala against the Muslims, I have addressed a big Muslim gathering of 10,000, just before the elections there, just outside Alua. And but the way they have succeeded in dividing the Christians and Muslims in Kerala, which should not have been, all should have been with a minority agenda collaborative, is unimaginable. Catholic bishops, which I told them is a sin, are using words like love jihad, drug jihad, and all that. And the way the others denigrated, because we have no collaboration among us. We need to transcend our pettiness, our one-upmanship games, and work together. Work together for the unity, for the oneness of the country, respecting specificity, diversity, pluralism. My third is courage. And they have said there is fear. You're creating fear. Anyway, the Prime Minister is a frightened person. He's not able to address a press conference today in all these years. The one press conference he addressed was in Washington, when that one from the Washington, the Wall Street Journal asked him a question about minorities, of course. And there he was all, hooing and hawing, because there was no teleprompter there and there was no monkey bath, whatever. But he's a frightened person. But the point is, they've been able to put the fear in the ordinary citizen. They have put the fear in minorities, in Muslims, in Christians, in Sikhs, in the women wrestlers. They have created this fear. They have used the ED, they have used the NIA, they have used the CBI, they have used the Income Tax Department for anybody who has the courage to speak truth to power, including journalists. And we have seen this happening in our country. So can we have the courage, that prophetic courage that we are speaking about, the courage of our convictions, the courage to be able to say what is right, as Salmanji was saying, and what is wrong, and to be able, in a collaborative manner, to be able to, to ensure that we have courage, of convictions as one people. The fourth is about constitutionality, and this program is about constitutionality, and I think the basis of constitutionality is also about human rights. If we want to transform, if I'm not able to respect, you see the way they are, even very strategically, when the new parliament building was, they put that old constitution with their own preamble, okay, where socialism and secularism are not. It is a manipulative game. But can we stand up for the constitution? Can we stand up to take the constitution? I'm sorry to say, for me as a Christian, the Bible is my sacred book. But as a citizen of India, I have only one sacred book, and that is the Constitution of India. And we have to not only swear by it, we need to internalize it, we need to actualize it, to ensure that this preamble, the integrity, the unity, the dignity of that woman doctor who had been raped, but also about that young girl who was raped in UP, even after that, the nurse, and is found, but now it's not hogging the headlines. The nurse, in Calcutta and UP, and what about the Manipur woman which Dr. Senath spoke about right at the beginning? So, the dignity of every single woman. How do we ensure an equitable society? How do we ensure justice, fraternity? Pope Francis has written about fraternity, and ultimately, how do we ensure that we live in harmony, in peace, and ensure that this country gets back to its heyday when our freedom fighters struggled to give us that independence, that freedom. The final thing is about commitment. We cannot be, today they're buying up politicians. I cannot be a politician one day in one party and go to another party. What is our commitment to the values of our country to the values of secularism, pluralism for the future of our children. You know, we are so many matlabiness. So people are saying, I can buy you with this, I can take you into, I can sell you ED, but can we stay strong, staunch to our commitment that we are here for our country, we are here for freedom, we are here for human rights. And in the words of Tagore, let me end into that heaven of freedom, my father and my mother, let my country awake.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's so very important to, those 5 C's that you had spoken about, Father. Thank you. I think you have to think about it and work on it. Thank you. Last but not the least, we have a very, one of the, she was the first mayor of Mumbai. She was the second woman who became the mayor of Mumbai. And she's an advisor to the Wisdom Foundation, an advocate, a person who doesn't really come out into high profile, phases. But she is a person who is very much respected and very much speaks her mind when she needs to. So, and she's part of the Indian National Congress. She was part of the Indian Congress Party, but now she's presently a member of the NCW. NCP. Yes, sorry, NCP. Sorry. I got that wrong. There were two things that came about you.
Also, because National Commission for Women I was.
All right.
NCW.
She was also.
Okay, it's okay. No need to introduce it.
Okay, thank you. I give you nil melody. Thank you.
I will also stand and speak, and I assure you that I won't take much of your time because already now 9:45, and I think it's enough of that food for thought. Stomach is very, very important. I know, but I know that you all are here who are more for food for thought. I'm sure that I'm not telling that you remain hungry, but all intellectuals are here. And first of all, I congratulate my friend Zeenat because it's not an easy thing to, bring everybody together and arrange such an important topic, and that to transformation of politics, supremacy of constitution, democratic rights, civil liberties, human rights, and citizen-centric growth. She has given me the topic of citizen-centric growth, and I will only give bullet points. Actually, it's a proud privilege for me to be present when Salman Khurshid is there, Kumar Ketkar is there, Mr. Prakash, Mr. Sanjay, and my Abhay ji, who is my very old and very dear colleague. And of course, all these stars are there. I can't waste more time in taking everybody's names. So I'm really thankful for giving such a proud privilege. My bullet points are like this, that first of all, citizen-friendly development, which defines that building the trust between the government and citizens, and therefore it speaks about a good governance. But that good governance is under challenge, and I will just take summary of it. Policy of citizen-centric policy, which means a lot of things, that the participation of women in development, that is very, very important. And now you have spoken about the kind of participation which is very much under question, but that will take lot of time if I go on elaborating it. Health, education, social security, and the economic growth, that is very, very important, and women's safety, and housing, infrastructure, and digitalization. Kumar ji spoke about the impact of digitalization, complete taking over the media and not exactly showing what is happening. So you can connect that really are we in the phase of citizen-friendly development, or we are misusing the digitalization in making it more communal-friendly rather than making it more of a communal divide. These were my bullet points. Now I'll speak only on the way things are happening. Now people spoke on constitution also. That there is such a big threat to our Indian constitution that it has been already spoken by Salman ji also, that UCC, under UCC, actually it's not UCC, but they want to not only amend the constitution, but they want to bring their own constitution. And that is why I think that 400 ka par ab ki baar nahi hua, because people took election in their hand and they showed that constitution is the ultimate thing for them. And therefore, when we talk about growth of a nation, there has to be stability. There has to be a rule of law, and the basic fundamentals of rule of law is constitution. So the present government, it has always been after changing not only amendment the constitution, they are already done a lot of changes, and therefore we have to be very careful as when we talk about citizen friendly constitution. The way things are happening is very challenging, very serious. Now recently they have changed, brought new laws, BSS, Bharat Nyaya Sanhita, three laws which were introduced by taking out all the 144 parliamentarians out, and such a big threat to them that today we have the laws where there is no parliamentary debate, there are no suggestions, and therefore I think that this kind of economic growth is very much under challenge. Women reservation bill also they introduced, but that is going to happen in 2029. And now also if you see parliamentarians, very few women were given ticket. There are very few parliamentarians are there. So one can understand that we are far away from the dream of citizen-friendly growth. Now, two important points which I would like to mention about somebody has said that we have to build the bridges of humanity, equality. The present government is only contractor driven. Everywhere they are doing the construction, and the construction is on based on loan. The International Monetary Fund has warned the government of India that if you borrow the loans like this, the economy will go down. And they're talking about $1 trillion economy and many dollars economy, and they're competing them with China and America. So I think that this kind of a growth is very risky. That you take a loan from the Indian Monetary Fund and you spend the public money also and also the loan money for misguiding the people. What you see, the bridges and infrastructure is not a growth. And therefore, I think that we need to think very seriously about it. Last point is that we are facing unemployment. There's so much of unemployment. Now, the government is speaking about skill development, skill development. We are not generating employment. If we don't generate employment, if we don't fill the gap between demand and supply, it's going to be a very scary situation. And therefore, I think that when we talk about the citizen-friendly economy, or citizen-friendly, what should I say? So it's very important that we have to address these basic questions of unemployment. If there is, if you see the position of digitalization also, if you see that we are far behind. If you see the women's participation in employment, we are 107th in the whole global scenario. That's why I feel that very bad situation in RBI. The Reserve Bank of India has also warned the government. They're taking all money from Reserve Bank India, their borrowing are very high, and therefore growing unemployment, all these questions. And the worst part, where everybody has already discussed, is communal divide. If there is a communal divide, I think there cannot be growth. For growth of the civilians, there has to be peace, prosperity, communal harmony has to be there. If there is no communal harmony, if there is a threat to the constitution, there is no progress in economic growth, I think we will be far away from the citizen-friendly cities and citizen-friendly economy. Thank you.
I want to thank all the speakers. It's a pleasant task. Thank you, Mr. Salman Khurshid is not here in absentia. I'd like to thank him that he has come all the way from Delhi as our chief guest. I want to thank Kumar Ketkarji for always being there and always will be there for us. his words of wisdom, his insights. Have been, he's one of the leading scholars in intelligence in our country. Thank you, Sanjay Jha. I know you're very busy, and you are busy, Sanjay. And I know it's very difficult to get Sanjay, but thank you for being there. Thank you so much, Justice Abhay, to be with us, and thank you, Nirmala ji. And thank you, Father Cedric, Prakash, for coming all the way. Appreciate, and I think you've said so much. We have to have a discussion on what you have said and see how we can meet together, bring minds and hearts together, so that we can build a better India. Now, before I end, would anyone like to make a comment? I know you are hungry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you're hungry. Dinner is served. Yes.
Just
yes.
take away, not actually a comment from what Justice Mukti said. Something worrisome, that is parents are getting influenced by children. 29% contribution to the population of Indian youth, and we talk about youth being the future. That means the future has been shattered in present today. So, I mean, we have to collectively think, and a lot of points have been talked about, but what is the solution? I think, psychologically speaking, conditioning can be changed of human beings. What we are today is because of that conscious activity of somebody who I take as a marketing wizard, right? Or a continuous repetition of something, continuous appearance of somebody on everything, including the thalas and the pudiyas and everything all over the place, right? Has popular, and then he wanted to end up as a Bhagwan, which did not work out. But what you said, sir, is something very, very worrisome. That if parents are getting influenced by the youth, right, quite against the heritage which we talk about of the country, that was something terrible.
Thank you so much.
That's a fact. I could give you more examples also.
Javed is present, of course. Just a minute. Thank you very much for that comment. I think we need Father Prakash, Cedric Prakash, who has laid out a plan of action about the 3-5 C's that we have to think and talk about and discuss. I give you Javed.
Thank you. The rebel that is in our midst today, which makes friend Kumar Ketkar so pessimistic, many of us pessimistic or worried times. I think it's worth thinking what has led to this kind of affairs where we are today. Kumar mentioned 1989, 1990, 1991, or this is like 89, 91, and 92. I think if you really want to understand what has contributed to the huge kind of astronomical growth of Hindutva, we need to go back to the late 1970s, when the Jai Prakash movement gave respectability to the RSS for the first time. Before that, it was not a done thing. It was not politically correct, considered politically correct to speak a common language in the public. That was the beginning of that. Then 1986 is the other one I want to mention, which is got to do with both the Shahbano judgment and the opening of the gates of the Babri Masjid. And I think both these have contributed in a huge, huge way to the polarization that we've seen. Within this time is short, so I'll just speak one sentence more and stop at that. That the Muslim community also needs to introspect in terms of how it has contributed to the rise of Hindu communalism. And the last thing is, I don't feel as pessimistic as you, because as we were talking before the meeting here, then informally, research has shown that there were at least 79 seats that the BJP would have lost if the election commission had done its job. If 79 seats had been lost, we would be discussing in an altogether different kind of a frame of mind today. Salman Sahib would probably not be able to come here, he will be required in Delhi, etc., etc. Anyway, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Salim Khan, who's a very well-known figure. I give you.
See, I have a question for Mr. Kumar Ketkar. You are an ideal and a media baron for us. But what I noticed in your deliberation was that media, I mean, I felt, maybe I'm wrong, that media is a threat. So I want to know, some people, they have made media as an opportunity. So why it cannot be an opportunity for us to counter what they are doing it? Instead of, I mean, getting threatened by media, we should have a discourse as how this can be utilized in order to encounter the hatred which is coming through it. So that is what I am expecting from a learned media person like you and Mr. Jha and all who are leading the media.
Thank you. Just one minute. Mr. Kushid has to catch a flight.
Yeah, I think just a short answer to your question. There is a very interesting data that during this election, 42% of the people watched television.